Well, hey there, Get Up and Go Challengers. Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom, P3, our preliminary pre-work day 3 today. I realized last night that we have 10 days leading up to the next challenge, next Get Up and Go Challenge. August 1st, right here on the Get Up and Go Challenge page, 11 a.m. Central Time. Not sure how long they're going to be, probably anywhere from under 10 minutes. And if vote in the comments below. Share in the comments below. Do you want me to keep them short? Do you want me to keep the 30 days really short, 10-minute thing, and then an action item? Or do you want me to go more in depth on certain topics? You decide. You know, I can talk for an hour on stuff or on just about any topic. Sad but true. Or we can keep it under 10 minutes. I love doing challenges that are under 10 minutes. Guess why? Because we can do it. All of us can find 10 minutes in our day to listen to a video or a lesson and then take an action every single day. And it doesn't usually take an hour to describe something that we can actually do to take action on every single day. But what I want to talk about, since there's 10 days left leading up into the challenge, are 10 of the most critical lessons that I've learned over my lifetime. I'm turned 60 right as COVID was hitting this year, and every year before my birthday, I spend a little time reflecting on last year, what great things happened, but also what lessons did I learn last year? What things didn't go according to plan? What things weren't the way I wanted them to go? What things absolutely, positively stunk and were horrible and were dramatic and terrible? And what did I learn from those things? Because I've learned, one of the lessons I've learned, and I'm not even going to share throughout these 10, is that things happen to us for a reason. Everything that's ever happened to me has happened to me for a reason. I think I talked about that a little bit yesterday, or one of the last couple of days. Everything happens to us for a reason, and it's usually to teach us or show us something. And if we don't learn the lesson, if we don't see it, if we don't get it, if we don't realize it, and act accordingly moving forward in our life, we are destined to repeat that lesson over and over and over again. And whether you believe that or not is entirely up to you. Look back at your life, at your history, and at your experiences and see if that's true for you. Maybe it's absolutely positively not true for you. Maybe you are one of the fortunate few that you have a challenge or make a mistake and you learn a huge lesson or you figure it out the first time and you never, ever, ever do that again. Me, a little bit more stubborn, a little bit thicker skinned and pig-headed, and I don't always get the lesson the first time. I'm one of those people, sometimes I have to get the lesson over and over and over again. And that's where many of these 10 things have come from. And I call them critical things because you can choose to ignore them. You can act like they don't exist. You can say that doesn't apply to me. But they all are things that apply to all of us as human beings, whether we believe it or not. And the first one, I'm going to share one a day with you from now until through July 31st, and then August 1st we'll begin the new challenge, the new Get Up and Go Challenge. But I'll keep them short too. I won't talk for an hour. I'll talk for 5 minutes tops if possible, maybe less. I'll keep them really simple because, like I mentioned, I could talk about any one of these things for an hour. I could give you examples of how I learned these lessons and how some of them were terrible experiences that caused me to learn these. First one, and they're not in any particular order. I just brainstormed a list yesterday. What are 10 things that I could talk about that are really important to me that I've learned, many of them the hard way? I'll have to look at the list tonight and say it might be I've learned every single one of these the hard way, meaning I had to experience it myself. Nothing on this list is something that someone told me and I just believed. And that leads us to our first lesson. Think for yourself. Think for you. I like to say T, the number 4, and then the letter U. Think for you. And remind myself of this every single day. Every single day of my life, I remind myself consciously to think for myself and ask myself, what does this mean to me? Whatever this is, whatever I'm looking at, whatever I'm being exposed to. COVID-19, and in the United States, the unrest and the turmoil and the riots over George Floyd's death and everything else that ensued after that and continues to pop up a lot due to politics and the political campaign. We absolutely positively have to and must, each and every one of us, think for ourselves. We have to ask ourselves, what is the intent behind what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm experiencing, and what I'm feeling? And what is it here to specifically and uniquely show me? Maybe it's here to show me that I'm watching too much news. Maybe it's here to show me that I'm listening to the radio all the time. I gave up, and this is me personally, my story. I gave up watching the news in 1980, the late 80s. I went to a training at Procter & Gamble where I was working in corporate America at the time. Just great training called Louis Tice training. It was a week-long training that everyone in the company, all the managers in the company, all wanted to go to because it was one of those coveted, excellent corporate trainings that you would go to, and you're just like, it not only helped you in your career, but it also helped you in your personal life. And everybody always liked trainings like that, or at least I liked trainings like that. There was a clamoring of everybody wanted to go to that training because it had such a great reputation and such a huge impact on everybody's lives. And one of the things that they challenged us day one of that training was to turn off the news and to think for ourselves. But to turn off the news, because what we're feeding our brain, what we're feeding our mind, impacts us whether we believe it or not. I see it myself all the time. What I'm reading, what I'm listening to, what I'm studying at the time, because I'm always studying and reading, not reading so much anymore, listening to audiobooks and things, impacts what I'm thinking and what I'm pulling back in my experiences and what I'm creating in my life now. And if I'm watching a bunch of junk like murder mysteries or horror things, that impacts me differently than if I'm listening to a bunch of great books and things on tape. And I've recently started listening to audiobooks on my walks. I like to just go out and listen to nature, but people aren't as cool and friendly as they used to be, so I still smile and interact with people, but I like to listen to things too because it's killing two birds with one stone. That's what I used to do in the car when I was driving. I was always listening to tapes and things instead of the radio, because as I turned off the news and realized that it was a lot more fun to think for myself and it gave me a lot more personal power, I also then discovered that listening to the radio to and from work every day didn't necessarily set me in the right frame of mind to deal with the things I needed to deal with at work, and so I started listening to tapes. Why do we want to think for ourselves? You know, it's a lot easier to just be a cog in the machine and go through life and go through work and go through the motions of our life than it is to think and decide and choose for ourselves. However, no one else except you knows you and knows what's right for you. Nobody. Not your significant other, not your mom, not your dad, not your brother, not your sister, not your cousin, not your best friend. Nobody. Nobody knows you like you do. Nobody can think for you. People can influence you and try to manipulate you, but ultimately it's up to you to pick your thoughts and decide what you're going to think. Now, if you don't believe me, just try a little experiment. And we'll do a little action item at the end of this. Just try to not think of a red barn. Anybody? Don't do it. Don't think of a red barn. Whatever you do, do not think of a red barn. Well, how many people, as much as and as hard as you tried, did not have an image of a red barn flash through your mind, even instantaneously? We all do. Because as soon as somebody tells you not to do something, guess what? You automatically want to do it. Even if you don't really want to do it in the first place, don't eat that caramel pie. And they show you this delicious, decadent piece of caramel pie. Caramel is my thing. And then, of course, you want to eat it. And even if you weren't hungry, you're going to the refrigerator to look for something sweet to eat. If you happen to have caramel pie, you're delighted. If you don't, you're looking for something else. And you might even make the run to the store to get that caramel pie. We are so easily influenced, and we're so open to suggestion. It's up to us to kind of put a little bubble around ourselves and filter the thoughts and all of the stimulus that we get through our own mind, through the filters that are right for us. So think for yourself is the first one. Today our action item is to ask yourself, are most of my thoughts positive or negative? That's it. Just today, are most of my thoughts positive or negative? And then what is the emotion that you feel the most often throughout the day, throughout your day to day? Just today, not any other day, but just today. And today is not representative of your life. It's just an experiment for today. What are most of your thoughts? Pay attention a little bit to your thoughts. Are most of them positive or negative? And then what are you feeling most? What is the number one feeling you feel the most throughout today? And then think about that feeling and ask yourself, what am I thinking about most of today? Because if what I'm thinking about most of today makes me feel bad or negative, then I'm probably feeling angry, frustrated, upset, negative, bad, out of control, powerless, hopeless, uncertain, worried, doubtful, fearful. One of those emotions, one of the negative emotions. If I'm feeling pretty upbeat, happy, and energized and loved throughout the day, and I feel positive throughout most of the day, it's because I spent most of my time thinking about and interacting with experiences that I feel positive about, that I'm feeling good about. And feeling and thinking, yes, they go very much hand in hand. They go together. So that's it. That's our little discussion for today. Lesson learned. If you want to know some of my lessons learned, what happens when I haven't thought for myself, and why I think it's the first one that popped into my mind was that each and every one of us need to think for ourselves. Hit me up in the comments below and I can share some more stories about that. Take care. Have an amazing day. Join me here 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, August 1st through August 31st for our next Get Up and Go challenge. Take care. Bye.